it just seems, you know what, like, it just seems so far-fetched, so ridiculous, so, this is out of a science fiction novel by Isaac Asimov. This does not make sense to me.
Start with the marijuana. Have I lied to you about the marijuana?
I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm not saying that you're not being truthful. I'm saying that your ideas are ludicrous.
Have you found any logical errors in my arguments about the marijuana?
No, I agree with you on marijuana. I told you this earlier today, Tim.
Well, then follow through. Who's been lying? Me or the government?
Well, what has the government been saying that's a lie?
Marijuana is a very dangerous drug.
It can be dangerous. It can be very dangerous in the wrong hands.
No, what's the causation of all these gangs and all this violence? Is it the policy of drug prohibition, or is it that everybody goes out and gets high and then they go out and shoot everybody?
If there weren't drugs, there wouldn't be drug prohibition. So I'd say drugs is the causation of everything that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you see, this is the problem with having conversations with people that aren't in the know. You need to do some research. Come down here, let me have more than a 5-minute conversation with you about this.
Hey, I'm totally open.
You got to accept some of the things that I say, and then go back and do your research.
I told you, I'm 100% behind you when it comes to drugs. I think marijuana, and actually, I think almost all drugs should be legalized. I think they should be legalized. I think the government should tax the hell out of people who use this shit.
I don't care about that.
I do.
Will you be quiet for a second?
Okay. It's getting testy, folks.
Drugs is a representative issue of what's wrong with the government. About how they're going to lie to you. About how they're going to waste your money. About how they're going to cause people to die over stupid policy.
But that doesn't mean, Tim, they're going to engineer a food shortage, make people starve and go hungry so they can declare martial law. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing what you're saying and why some people show resistance to it. Maybe the government doesn't have their facts straight on marijuana, but it doesn't make them conspiratorial Orwellian people who are trying to manipulate the world into a one-world government. That's what Matt is saying. Matt has a hard time from his perspective, and maybe he's lived kind of a sheltered existence. He hasn't had to fight the crazy people in Abbotsford that you've had to fight, so maybe he doesn't have that experience dealing with corrupt governments that you have. But
I've only been fighting the fight on a local level because when the people on the national level get here, I sort of want the people on a local level to believe I'm in their corner. Listen, we've got until the 1st of November to figure out what's what. But, you know, all you have to do is check the price of, you know, the loaf of bread every day, the price of gas every day. And I got to tell you, like, the real price of gas isn't changing. What's changing is the value of the dollar. Okay?
All right, what's happening on November 1st, Tim?
Well, like the election is November 15th, right?
Right.
You don't have to vote for me. You can vote for George Parrish. You can vote for Sid Gould. You know?
What's so funny about those guys?
This is never about me getting elected anyway.
No. Tim, what's so funny about voting for one of the others? I'm very well versed with Sid Gould, and he's a very intelligent man, and I think he could represent Abbotsford very well.
Oh, I know I could.
No, Sid.
Oh, those guys. Listen, they're more of the same. The problem is your government's out of control. And your government thinks they own you, and they can come into your property and tell you what they can do.
Yeah, but Sid Gould isn't part of the government yet.
Well, he'd be just more of the same. He's not going to change it.
Like, because you say so?
No, because, like, what has he said that's different?
Well, I think he said...
He can't even understand drug prohibition. How's he going to understand...
There's a difference between not agreeing with and not understanding, Tim. What you don't understand is because people don't agree with you doesn't mean that they don't understand. I perfectly well understand drug prohibition and everything you're saying. I just think you're wrong.
No, you don't.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think you're wrong, or no, I don't understand.
I don't think you understand all
Obviously, I don't understand it as well as you do. I don't spend my life crusading for it, but I understand it well enough to formulate an intelligent opinion.
I'm not a marijuana advocate, and anybody who thinks I am is a fool. I always told you guys all along this was an exercise of our rights. I was trying to teach people to demonstrate and to stand up.
Hey, I admire that. I think it's great what you're doing.
Well, I don't really like people who say they admire me because, you know, it's not about I'm trying to, I don't want anybody's admiration. If you don't join in, this was all for naught.
Well, I'm not going to join in. I don't admire you per se. I admire what you're doing and what you're attempting to do.
I hope you get hungry in a couple of weeks.
I'm sorry?
I hope you get hungry in a couple of weeks.
It's entirely possible. I just got a new job. I'm not making very much money, so...
Tim, what do you see for the future? I mean, let's have one of your predictions because you are a bit of a prophet, as much as it pains me to say it. You are generally right when you talk about certain things more and you're wrong. Although when you are wrong, you're wrong in spectacular fashion. But you are generally more right than you are wrong. You were right about the food shortage. You were right about the economic downturn. You've been right about these fluctuating interest rate. What do you see happening in the next 6 months?
Okay, how about tomorrow?
Okay?
Okay, tomorrow the interest rates will go down.
All right?
Okay, and then that will start to spiral. Like people are going to lose confidence in the dollar, the currency, and I see the currencies collapsing into one currency. I don't know why I see it. I just don't see how things can keep going on the way they're going. The next thing is I see food problems. I'm not really that up on all these things with the food problems. What it is like I said, the causation of the problem is the government is destroying the currency by printing money and lowering the interest rate.
So you think that things aren't going to get any better then?
No.
Okay. Matt,
No.
do you foresee this as being what is your opinion? Do you foresee this as being a continuum?
I think he's being very fatalistic. I don't know anything about interest rates. I'm not going to speak out of my ass here. He could be right. He could be wrong. The fact of the matter is, I think that all the stuff he said previously negates any positive things he has to say. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
Him saying that the government is going to create a food shortage negates any relevant information that can come out of him.
Tim, did you mention something earlier about global warming on Mars too?
Yeah, listen, I majored in environmental economics and energy consultant at Ohio State University. And I can't tell you about global warming because we don't know all the facts. I mean, it just went back and forth a lot of years. There's more information. I haven't kept up on it. But what I heard years ago was there's global warming on Mars and the other planets too. And, like what I'm saying is, well, how do we know? The government lies.
Matt?
How do we know about UFOs? The government lies about everything.
UFOs. Matt, what do you think about global warming on Mars?
Fuck if I know. I don't know what anything is on Mars, right? How does it matter to us? Why would the government...
Because we're implementing a carbon tax, and we're implementing all these...
Not on Mars, we ain't.
But listen, if the problem is carbon, why don't we have a hemp-based economy? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense than a carbon tax and this and all this other strenuous...
Tim, I don't think it's going to do any good for the Martians, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so you're saying things are going to get worse, not better from here. I want to go on the record right now and say that you correctly predicted that these things would start happening, so as much as it hurts me to say it, Tim, you were right.
Okay, how about this? How about war in the Middle East? I mean, more war. I mean, if it's possible to have more war in the Middle East, how about war in South America? I don't understand why all the countries with oil seem to have a problem with the United States, but that seems to be the issue.
You don't understand why they have a problem with the United States? Maybe because the United States tries to enforce their own version of government on every other country that does not have that already in place. Maybe that's because the Americans have to bomb every country with brown people.
Steal their resources. Either that or like to kill people and steal their resources and steal drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so but they are very honest. Let's start with that. Nothing the American government does is good and noble. They don't spread democracy and freedom. They support dictators, and they kill democracy around the world.
Well, they don't kill democracy per se. They try to enforce it, but they're their own version of democracy.
No, they don't. If they enforce democracy about as well as Abbotsford City Council does.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. I think their intent is to enforce democracy. They do a pretty piss poor job of it, but that is their intent.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm saying is like this scientific dictatorship. I mean, listen, they have a scientific dictatorship when it comes to marijuana. You're not allowed any dissent. But does that follow through to any other issues? Like global warming, world peace?
Of course, you've always argued that it's representative of all the issues. So, Tim, are you going to basically get some canned food going and hunker down in your basement?
Well, I'll tell you this, like when everybody gets ready to go protest and riot, I'm not going out there.
Matt, are you going to store up some canned food?
No.
I'm
not. I'm not worried about anything whatsoever.
So you think everything is just going to be perfect?
No, I'll break into Tim's house and steal that.